Hello and welcome back. Tonight, we're diving into a story that's making waves across the globe, a story of deportations, legal battles, and human rights concerns. It's a complex and controversial situation, but let's break it down together. Here's what has happened. The United States has deported over 200 alleged gang members from Venezuela, along with 23 members of the notorious MS-13 gang. These individuals were sent not back to Venezuela, but to El Salvador, where they were immediately locked up in one of the world's most infamous prisons. But here's the twist: this all happened despite a federal judge's order to stop the deportations. Yes, you heard that right. A U.S. court said, "Hold on, this isn't legal." But by the time the ruling came through, the planes had already left American soil. Now, let's talk about where these deportees ended up. They were sent to El Salvador's mega prison, the Terrorism Confinement Center, or SECCOT. This is a massive, high-security facility that can hold up to 40,000 inmates. It's part of El Salvador's crackdown on organized crime, but it has also been heavily criticized by human rights groups for its harsh conditions and alleged mistreatment of prisoners. And now, these deportees are set to stay there for at least a year, with the possibility of that being extended. No trial, no due process, just straight to one of the toughest prisons in the world. But how did we get here? Well, the Trump administration invoked a law that dates all the way back to 1798, the Alien Enemies Act. This law was originally designed for wartime situations, but the administration used it to claim that the Venezuelan gang, Tren de Aragua, was waging irregular warfare against the United States. This allowed them to bypass normal legal processes and fast-track these deportations. But here's the thing: rights groups, including Amnesty International, are calling this out. They re-saying it as a misuse of an outdated law and a violation of basic human rights, and they're not alone. Venezuela has condemned the move, accusing the U.S. of unfairly criminalizing Venezuelan migrants. They've even compared it to some of the darkest moments in history, like slavery and the horrors of Nazi concentration camps. Strong words, but they reflect the deep anger and frustration over what many see as an unjust and inhumane act. Meanwhile, El Salvador's President Nayib Bukele, who's a close ally of Trump, has been anything but subtle. He actually mocked the U.S. judge's ruling on social media, posting, "Oopsie," too late, after the deportees had already landed in his country. It's a bold move, but it also raises serious questions about the rule of law. How can a federal judge's order be ignored like this? And what does it say about the balance of power in the U.S. when the executive branch can seemingly override the judiciary? And let's not forget the human rights angle here. Neither the U.S. nor El Salvador has provided any real evidence that these deportees are actually gang members. So, are these people dangerous criminals, or are they being scapegoated in a political game? And even if they are guilty, does that justify sending them to a prison that's been accused of mistreating inmates? These are questions we need to be asking. This story also highlights the growing ties between the U.S. and El Salvador. Bukele has been eager to strengthen his relationship with the U.S., even offering up SECCOT as a solution for housing deportees. But at what cost? Critics say this arrangement is less about justice and more about political convenience. It's a win-win for the leaders involved, but what about the people caught in the middle? And let's talk about the bigger picture. This isn't just about one deportation flight or one prison. It's about how immigration policies are being used and sometimes abused. It's about the human cost of these decisions. And it's about the systems that allow these kinds of actions to happen in the first place. So, what can we take away from all this? First, it's a reminder of how important it is to hold our leaders accountable. Whether it's in the U.S., El Salvador, or anywhere else, we need to demand transparency, fairness, and respect for human rights. Second, it's a call to stay informed. Stories like this can be complicated, but they matter. They affect real people, and they reflect the values of the societies we live in. And finally, it's a challenge to all of us. Don't just watch this story and move on. Share it, talk about it, ask questions. Because when we stay silent, we allow injustice to thrive. And that's something none of us can afford to do. Thank you for watching. And as always, stay curious, stay informed, and stay engaged. Together, we can make a difference.